Welcome to my very first screen capture. I am going to be showing you a little bit about Excel. This is a beginner's course for those who do not know Excel. And I have a Mac. Some of this stuff will not translate completely to PC, but for the most part it does. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Excel here. And what typically happens here when you open up Excel is, especially on the Mac, and now as you see I have Excel here that is for Mac 2011. Now everybody's versions might be different. The version that you're using might be different. I suggest always having the most current version if you can. And so, if you want to open up a blank workbook or a blank spreadsheet to work on, then you can just select the Excel workbook here, and that's just a blank one. Now, of course, each version of Excel does say something different, but for the most part, you should get the idea that you want to pick a blank one. Now, let's say, for instance, you might want to click on one of these other templates that they have in here. Excel does have quite a few templates depending on what you are looking for. Maybe you're looking for a calendar, or maybe you're looking for a to-do list or a customer list or an inventory tracker. But in this lesson, we're going to be talking about the Excel workbook. And we're going to be going over some of the basics on what each thing is inside of a Excel workbook. So once I click on this, I can hit choose, and it opens up the Excel workbook. And all I'm doing right now is I'm just dragging it to be a little bit wider on the screen here. Alright, so once you open this up, you have all of the columns and rows here. The A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all these letters here are all columns. And the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all these numbers here are all rows. And this is very important when you are going to put formulas in. You need to know what column and what row that formula is referencing, or what formula you're going to be putting that in. You'll need to know this information. So this is very important to know what kind of cell you're using, whether or not it's A1 like I'm on right now, or B2, or C13. You see how this is? See how it's highlighted here, C, and you got 13 here. This is basically the cells of the workbook. Down here at the bottom, you'll see that I'm on sheet 1, which is basically you can have different tabs, different sheets within a workbook. So if I click here, I can have sheet 2, sheet 3, and sometimes this is useful for if you are creating different sheets based upon whatever it is you're working on. Alright, and maybe you want to reference another sheet by using a formula from one sheet. So each one of these sheets are different. You see how I have my cursor here, or this block highlighted, C13 here, but when I click on sheet 2, it's a completely different sheet. It's on A1, okay? And sheet 3 is on A1, but let's say I select A10. So as you see, these are completely different sheets that you can work on independently of each other. Now, you also have, depending on your version of Excel, different tabs here at the top that have different functionality to them. Now, when you open up Excel, you'll normally be on the Home tab, and basically the Home tab will have all of these functions underneath it that you can utilize when creating your Excel spreadsheet. You also have layout, which is important if you want to, let's say, fix the margins of your Excel spreadsheet so it prints out the way you want it to. Maybe you want the different orientation, maybe a different page layout you want. You also have tables here. Tables can be utilized to add different functionality to tables, but we'll get into that later. Charts are very good if you are into creating numbers, and basically that's what spreadsheets are, is all based upon numbers. So let's say you want to create something that has a bunch of different formulas that create different calculations and everything, but you want to see it on a pie graph, or maybe you're a visual kind of person, you want to see it on a bar graph. Well, that's what charts basically are. They're going to convert that data into a visual experience. Now, also you have smart art. To be honest with you, I don't really mess with it much, but we will go into it later on. You do have formulas here. This is for advanced functionality of formula building. In the most part, you can get away with doing formulas just utilizing the Home tab if you know the formula that you need to utilize in the cell. Also, you have this FX button here that we'll utilize later. So Formulas tab is kind of good. I mean, you can utilize different advanced features utilizing Formulas tab, but for the most part, everything you're going to be learning in the basics here is going to be utilizing the FX button for inserting a different type of formula. You also have the Data tab here, which is for external data sources or analysis or sorting of data. So you can utilize this as well. You also have the Review tab here, which basically, I don't really use it much, but you can select like password protection I might use, or might lock a workbook or a sheet. And what I mean by that is I can lock different kinds of cells so they don't get, so the formulas don't get overridden, especially if you're like creating an Excel spreadsheet and you're going to share it with someone else, but you don't want them to override your formulas. You can protect those workbooks or worksheets, and it'll protect those cells that have formulas in them from being overridden. So those are the basic layouts of the tabs here. Now, also, if you notice here at the top, you got Excel, you got File, which has a bunch of things in it for saving, importing, sharing. We'll go into that a little bit later. You also have the Edit, where you can actually cut, copy, fill in, clear, delete areas of the workbook or the worksheet. You can also view different aspects of your toolbar, which is all down here. You can also do inserting, which you can insert into different cells, different aspects that you want to do in order to create a worksheet. You also have formatting, which maybe you're into formatting your cells here, or rows or columns, and maybe you want to say some of the things that you're going to learn here in this course is not only just creating spreadsheets as far as formulas and numbers go, but you're also going to be learning how to format things so it looks, I guess you could call pretty. But in any case, you are going to try to learn how to format things so it has an aesthetic, pleasing look to it. Also, you got tools here. I don't really use it much. It does have macros in it, which some people like to use. You have spelling, if you're not good with spellings, different things in here that you can utilize. Data is basically the same thing that we went over here on this tab here on Data. But you can also access it up here. And Window, It's just basically you can arrange your windows in different formats. And what I mean by window is this window here. Maybe you want to select, bring all of your windows, all your different workbooks together. Maybe you want to create a new window, arrange them. We'll go over that a little bit later. And then you have help here, which basically will give you some helpful insights on how to create formulas and different things of the workbook. So this is a general overview of Excel here. In later episodes, we're going to be going over each of these individual tabs and each of these buttons here, and go over the different functionalities that you can utilize on these buttons. But for right now, this is the general overview of Excel.